Hello, this is a real quick demo for GitCAD and how it works. In general, the way GitCAD works is it facilitates storing the FreeCAD files in their uncompressed format on GitHub while keeping the actual FC standard file itself empty and clear of any data. So you see this FreeCAD file has 0 lines, 0 bytes of data, but its contents is actually stored in its uncompressed format with binary files that don't really benefit from being stored on GitHub or on the remote repository can be stored using LFS or large file storage servers. So let's just get into a demo of how it works. Hey, I just want to make a note before we start this demo that this is not a tutorial for how to use GitCAD. This is more just a quick demo for how things would work in the end once GitCAD is up and running for your repository. For a more featured demo, there's like another video for that. I'll probably have it linked in this description of this video. But yeah, that's it. Thank you. So over here in this repository, I have 2 FreeCAD files over here. And I want to make a modification to them. So how would I go about it? So if I try to open up the assembly example file over here by itself, like so, I think I could just do this. Right, okay, there we go, finally. So I have this FreeCAD file loaded up over here, and I try to make a modification. Like let's just say add this letter C to the spreadsheet, and I save it. I'll get an error over here, and that is because I do not own the lock for this file, and the file is set to read-only until I gain that lock. So I'm gonna click no and not save it. And then I'm actually just gonna close out of this over here, discard my change, and then do a lock of this file. And I'll lock it, and there we go, success. So I've gained the lock. So if I do git locks, right, we'll see that I own the lock for this file, and somebody else owns a lock for another file over here. This FreeCAD file is in the directory above it, so not in active test, but stored in test itself. But anyways, so I'm going to go and open the FreeCAD file again, and this time I'll actually be able to make my modification. There we go. So let's see. Let's make some changes. If I click save, look, there you go. It went through. All right. So now that I've made those those changes, how do I actually go and push those changes? So if I do a git status, we'll see that we have this FreeCAD file that has been modified. I can go and add it. And during the add, it will go ahead and automatically notice that this has been modified, and so it will go ahead and export it. If I do a git status over here, you'll see that the FreeCAD file over here is no longer in this list of modifications, because from Git's perspective now this looks like an empty file. It does actually still have data. I can still open it up, but it looks empty. And then we have these extra files over here. Just to show you that I can open it up. If I do open up the file, it does work still. Yeah, so it still has its data inside it, but from Git's perspective, it is done. So now, to go and actually push those changes, you can just do your standard command. So just add status commit added C and D. And there we go. Cool. We've made changes. So that's your standard making a modification. One more thing I forgot to show real quick. I've only shown modifying the file that has been already stored in FreeCAD. What if you create a new FreeCAD file? There's a little bit of a twist to that. So if I do go ahead and create a new FreeCAD file, let's just copy the assembly example file and create like an assembly example 2 file. If I do git status, we'll see that we have this new FreeCAD file. And if I go ahead and add the file, you'll say it's exported. If I do git status, we'll still see that there's this new file here. I can do add again, add this, and you'll see that unlike last time, it will be a new file. This new file over here is empty from GitHub's perspective or Git's perspective. There are 0 bytes in this file. You're not actually storing any data. But whenever you create a new file, this file will be here. When you make a modification, as was shown earlier, you won't actually see this file appear in this list of files being modified. But yeah, you just commit this as usual, and that's it. Now, let's go ahead and show some other stuff. So like, if I open up the file, you'll still see those changes exist. But now let's say I want to go and reset back. I want to undo those changes that I made. I can still do git reset and then go up one level and then undo those modifications. And you'll see it will automatically re-import the file if I do git status. So it's re-importing those changes that have been, those uncompressed changes from this current commit into the FreeCAD file. And if I go ahead and open the FreeCAD file, we'll see that the changes have been removed automatically. So, okay, let's see. So let's go ahead and showcase checking out a branch. So I'm going to go and make a change. I shouldn't have closed out of this. C, D, sure. So I made my change. Now I'm going to go and create a new branch. I'm going to go and reset this branch back to the previous position. Should have had it hard to the end of there. And now I'm going to go and actually make a change to the other file. Oh, but to do that, first I have to lock the file, so git lock. Example. Let's open it up. Okay, so let's make some changes here. B, C, D, save. We'll close out of this. See that we have a modification to BIM example. Cool. Now, if I open up Git graph, you can actually go ahead and take a look. Just do this. There we go. So you can see that we have these two diverging branches. We have this new branch and we have active test. And you can actually go ahead and, well, let's first show checking out individual file. Let's say I wanted to check out the change to this assembly example file in active test. I can go ahead and do my git checkout active test. Assembly example. Cool. So now I'm doing a file checkout and it's going to import that specific file from the active test. If I do a git status, we'll see that we have the modifications from this file are staged. And if I go ahead and open this file, we'll see that the changes made to assembly example exist here now. Cool. So let's do a git reset hard. Right. Now we want to go ahead and, so let's just showcase this open assembly example. We'll see that the changes have been reverted. And if we open the BIM example, we'll see that the changes are still there because we're still on the new branch. Cool. And so now let's go ahead and do a git checkout of active test. you'll see it'll automatically import this new file, and both the new files, because BIM example, the changes we made to BIM example don't exist on this branch. So if I go ahead and open the assembly example, we'll see that the changes exist here, but they do not exist for the BIM example that we were just on. All right, so that's file checkouts, and then that's standard checkouts. Let's do merging. So I'm going to go ahead and rebase this onto the BIM example. So let's go ahead and do a, so if we go and take a look over here, and let's do a git rebase onto, from active test onto the new branch. Go. So we've rebased active test on top of new branch, and we can go ahead and open it, and we'll see that the changes now exist for both files. Changes exist for BIM. And changes exist for assembly example. Now let's also showcase stashing. So let me go ahead, and I shouldn't have closed out of it. Let's go into this assembly example, and let's make some new modifications. New modifications. Save. Cool. So we've got some our FC assembly example. We can do go ahead and add it to extract it. Now we can go ahead and do a git stash, and then we'll stash the file itself. You can do just git stash by itself, that will work too. Do git status. We'll see that we have no changes. And if we open up the assembly example, we'll see that those changes, oops, don't exist anymore. But if I pop those changes and I open up the file, those changes exist again. So you can stash as well. You can also do a file-specific stash as normal. Note how this file technically doesn't have any changes, but it redirects those changes to the directory itself, the uncompressed directory.